We are fucking back! Hello everyone! How are you all doing? Are you also still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Wow! That is cool. Okay, so, just 1 second. For some reason, my bladder just hates me. Also, I need to make some tea, so I'm gonna be back in a second and we can talk a bit more. Everyone who wants to join the talk, feel free to join. Yeah, bye. Until then. But yeah, we're still here. We're gonna play some.
Yeah.
Just 1 second.
Also be AFK for a bit.
And we are back. Welcome, everyone. Wait. There we go. Back on the grind. For the small intermission thing, and where we talk about stuff.
I was like, a lot of the things they showed was stuff that was already announced, which is honestly I wouldn't expect it. Like, I have a friend who like his username is MGS Detected Sound.
Mm-hmm.
So I went and told him, oh hey, yeah, there's they're making an MGS3 remake, and he was like, yeah, they announced that last year.
Yeah, they announced it like years ago. I think even on the Sony conference.
Yeah, like, there's a bunch of stuff where
it's just like,
oh hey, it's cool. They just announced. Like, I think even the Age of Mythology thing.
Yeah, that was long announced.
Yeah. So
like,
there's a lot of things that
that is probably also one thing why I'm actually interested in A, the PC Gaming show, and B, Ubisoft. Because, I'm sorry, Ubisoft recently has been a bit on a run. Like, I like xDefiant, genuinely. I like to play it with, especially with friends and all. I genuinely think, I mean, they made one of the best Prince of Persia games, like one of the best Metroidvania games in recent years. And then I think they even made like a Prince of Persia roguelike immediately afterwards, which I don't think a lot of people played, but it's there. They did that. And recently all of their games have been good, you know, they've been rated really well. xDefiant is one of those titles where I'm like, if you remember, they had playtests for this game since 2 years almost. So I've been there in 2022. And they wanted to release last year, but they had technical problems. They were just like, no, we need more time and stuff, and they got it, and it's like, that's cool. You know, Devs being able to work on a game for as long as they need. What a concept. Yeah. And even then it's a game where I'm like, most people can have fun with this because it is so simple. I'd still say ironically from the, the general setup, something like Battlefield is probably even more casual friendly because, bigger maps, you have more immediately feeling impact, stuff like that. But EA has its own problems with that series, getting stuff off the ground there. But we'll see what they're cooking next year, so... But so far, like, as much as I'm interested in zombies for Call of Duty again, round-based stuff, this right here is great. Like, I don't know how to say, but Ubisoft has just had a good output recently. And ironically, due to the fact that there wasn't really a lot of shit. Like, apparently they did clean up, they did clean house to a degree, and... Bad guys on the zone. Well, I don't know. It's weird. It's weird to think that they might have the most interesting setup for this year's sort of E3. Yeah. But yeah, otherwise, you're right. Most games were announced already from Microsoft. Or they also come to PlayStation, and it's like, the fuck was going on here? Like, the one big game they didn't announce yet is another Gears of War prequel. Capture zone contested. We're in the zone. They're on the zone. On a topic we already covered. Like, I don't get it. I just don't get it to a degree. But yeah, also, again, as we speak about it, we're still talking about Microsoft, right?
Mm-hmm.
Justice for Tango, Justice for Arcane.
Yes.
Yes. But yeah, I alluded to that in the beginning. I think Arcane should have made the next Elder Scrolls game, because we talked about this a while ago. You know, you were in chat and we talked about how Bethesda actually has a good game design principle, but they just do narratively nothing with it. Oh god, yeah. Moral support. I love how absolutely eviscerating this game sometimes is.
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah, someone is just like, yeah, let's just make it kind of evil. Like, yeah, you know what, I respect that. I respect that a bit. It's funny.
Yeah, back in a sec.
That's a cute cat.
Ah, that new loadout smell. Go claim them zones. About the riprap. Nothing crazy.
Could you bring the water? The cooked water.
Oh yeah, I can do that.
What? Oh, are we getting technical now? I heated it up, it's cooked. Because that's the thing, cooking is the process, boiling is the thing it does. Everything going fine? No.
Trespassers on uncontested.
I am here.
Ah, yeah. But yeah, what I wanted to say is, I realized one thing, thinking about this whole topic. And that is, it kind of only applies to Fallout. Like, here's the thing. If you played Fallout, it kind of has, like, it definitely has a good structure for an open world game, you know? That includes, you know, a solid, you know, play as you, level as you play system, combined with still stats and stuff that you can apply and a good amount of builds. That is actually rare for, you know, a game to have that much variety. Hello Vicky Amaru, we're talking about stuff Microsoft announced and what the PC Gaming show is going soon, and currently it's about why Arcane, in my opinion, should actually make it the Elder Scrolls 6. So like, yeah, I'd say Fallout is the game they kind of want to make. Like, hell, even, again, the game they're doing, they did last, Starfield, is just Fallout in space in a lot of ways. You know? So, because, and one of the reasons why I'm bringing this up is, if you look at the Elder Scrolls, well, Skyrim just kinda sucks. And I don't mean narratively, it's just the whole gameplay design from RPG system and such is just bad. Like, okay, we can talk all day long how, you know, Oblivion removed so much stuff from, you know, removed so much stuff from Morrowind. Like, in Morrowind you had medium armor, you had pauldrons, you had spears, you know, there was a whole, again, there was a whole extra range of, you know, weapons and armor and shit. Or there was stuff like, you know, Khajiit and Argonians couldn't wear boots. Which, I mean, makes sense if you think about it. Their legs are actually not supposed to be like humans. They have animal-style legs.
Enemy crews got all the zones. Take them back.
Wasn't that also like basically the last game where you had to sort of make actual choices, where like you choose a faction, and
Yeah.
that meant that you were locked out of a bunch of other stuff, or at least like.
I think in Oblivion they still had some of that stuff, but not as much. Yeah. And then Morrowind was the last one where, you know, choices like that mattered. But and also, I need to point out, the RPG system was never good. It was already a mess in. It was a whole fucking mess back in. How's it called? It was a mess in Daggerfall and Arena. Like, it just didn't work in some points. It was a mess in Morrowind. Like, Morrowind literally has a guide like, oh hey, this is how you optimally level and put your stats in minor and major stats. Else you just fuck shit up, and you're like, what? But you know, one of the things why it didn't matter that much in Morrowind was simply enemies didn't level, so it was more like, you know, some enemies were just they just were all on a certain health level, and you could just level past them at some point, even if it was not if it wasn't optimal, you know. That's doable. Oblivion had a different problem because, you know, they had similar problems with leveling, but also the enemies were just all scaling, which... But also they just made shit worse. Like, there's a line of dialogue in Oblivion where they talk about, you know, you should attack skeletons with swords, you just whack them with a mace. I mean, what would tell you that, if you think about it? Like...
No flesh.
What?
No flesh.
Yeah. Skeletons, like, get more damage from maces. Obviously, it's blunt impact, you know? But that isn't true. The game tells you, oh, you should hit them with a mace, but in reality, the damage calculation is the same. There is no bonus. They just didn't program in any bonuses. Which is just like, the fuck?
I mean, the Elder Scrolls is basically a lifelong project of Bethesda of how many people can fool themselves into thinking it has an RPG system.
This is actually true. And you know the most insane part is? They removed even more in Elder Scrolls 5, and even less works. Like, here's the thing. From the fact that, you know, pauldrons are gone, medium armor is gone, spears are gone, halberds are gone, all this shit that was a Morrowind is gone. You also just have, you also then just look at stuff like, how's it called? That, you know, there are no bonuses, etc. It's just very, very simple. And then a lot of shit just doesn't work. For example, okay, here's the thing, okay? So there's a perk that you can unlock in the skill tree in the Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim that gives you that lets you ignore armor. So what would you think this applies to? Like armor bypass. What would this apply to?
I'm guessing unarmed damage?
No. Basically nothing in the game, because every normal enemy, like bandits or, you know, from the Imperials or stuff, everyone that wears armor, you know, visibly armor, they drop armor. They have better armor when they level, you know, the word level goes up.
King of the hill, but without the hill. Great.
This isn't counted as armor.
They have armor already, basically.
It's just a visual thing. They don't have armor. So basically, nearly no enemy in the game has armor. So that perk is worthless.
Game design.
Bethesda. And again, if you just... And then there's just like shit like, you know, how does bleeding work? You'd think bleeding works based on your damage output, right? No. Bleeding works on the base damage of a weapon, meaning the fucking stat unmodified, meaning it's just piss nothing. It's nothing. You can't modify it. It's worthless. And like,
They're on the zone.
you know what fucks me up the most about this? It's not the fact that they have, you know, stuff, you know, just scaled down even more from a broken RPG system. It's the fact that literally just a few years prior, there was Fallout 3. And Fallout 3, the RPG system actually works. Okay, not every perk works. Like, there's a perk they literally just had a programming error in, that someone mistyped something, and so it just calls a value, a property that was never defined in the code that way. It's defined literally. I think it has an extra S, armors. Just it's stupid. It's a stupid mistake. But you know, that's the kind of mistake where I'm like, you know what? I get it. Someone mistyped, but it make, you know, at least it makes sense design-wise. In Elder Scrolls, you have just a bunch of shit that isn't even designed properly in Skyrim. And you know what's fucking me up about that? The more I thought about this, the more I realized Bethesda wants to do Fallout games, but is forced to make Elder Scrolls games because everyone else doesn't want Fallout games. Like, no matter how good the Fallout games are, like New Vegas, or we can even, you know, we can debate about 3 and 4, but like, you see gameplay-wise, there is certain amount of, you know, passion flowing into them. There was just never the same like, they could re-release Skyrim and just print money. Which is like, yeah, I know it's a joke at this point, but also, imagine that. They could just reprint one of the most broken and not functioning RPGs of all time. And it made money. And meanwhile, they just made Fallout variations, which is like, yeah, they don't want to make Elder Scrolls. But I feel like they announced Elder Scrolls 6 because they were just like, we need some money in the future. I mean, okay, now Microsoft bought them, and Microsoft wants, I guess, to make more Fallout games, ironically. But like, yeah, it's wild to me. And then the more I thought about it, I said it once, I think they should have actually just taken Elder Scrolls and said, hey, Arcane Austin, it's your turn. Because, and like, the fact that, you know, executives can't see that. This very simple thing of, oh hey, Arcane Austin, you already made Dark Messiah of Might and Magic, okay? Also, one of the main things that the Elder Scrolls series had in Daggerfall and stuff was that it kinda wanted to be sort of an immersive sim. Like, just literally give Elder Scrolls to the immersive sim people. People want to play an Elder Scrolls game where you can, you know, not only freeze the enemy, but freeze the ground and the enemy slips off the stairs. It's like, bonk. Or, you know, you can lift nearly everything up. You should integrate that into the combat that, you know, you should just be able to grab, like, a frying pan and smack an enemy, or throw everything you have in your hand, and it should be some damage calculation, you know? Stuff like that should be in Elder Scrolls. But Arcane Austin is gone because someone didn't fucking bother to think about what could Arcane Austin do. Because that is one thing, you know? Which is one thing what I kind of hate about hearing a lot about the game industry. As much as it is important that, you know, studios are allowed to pitch their ideas and should get the support from the higher ups to actually make those ideas, then we get some really good games. It should also be the ability of, you know, higher ups, you know, managers to manage teams and be like, hey, you could do this. You could have this IP. You have talent there. You know? And frankly, a lot of people would probably look at Arcane also and would be like, yeah, they could do that. I don't know, chat, if you would actually agree with me. I mean, I don't think a lot of people have played Dark Messiah of Might and Magic, but I think you can understand this idea of Elder Scrolls as an RPG system, but, you know, going more into the direction of an immersive sim, would be something people would like in the game. I think you can also see that, right?
Yeah.
But now Todd has to do it again. Which I don't think Todd wants to. I don't think Todd wants to do Elder Scrolls, and not even in a, you know, negative sense. Obviously Elder Scrolls was kind of a thing he worked on. He was kind of a person that shaped this whole franchise, but it's clearly not his passion right now. Let the guy, you know, let the guy actually do his mechanics-driven Fallout game, but then be like, hey, here's some good writers, you know, they write your story now, and you just kind of have to work with them, okay? And that will be fine. That's it. That's what a manager should do.
What a producer should do. Well,
yeah. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm weird. Like, you know what? One of the reasons why I'm vindicated for, I feel kind of vindicated by xDefiant is I've been saying for fucking years that Battlefield has this problem that it actually is really, really good for small-scale modes, but they're not capitalizing on it. Their stupid thing is that they still think they are, you know, a competition to Call of Duty, and they want to make they still want to make a battle royale game. You know what the problem is? The battle royale train is gone.
yep.
And this isn't to say they didn't have a chance. No. They actually had the biggest chance. Remember, they made Firestorm for Battlefield 5. I played Firestorm. And here's the thing I never thought I would say, but I think Firestorm was the most fun I ever had in a Battle Royale game, because it was this fucking weird. Not weird in the bad sense, but like, it was just fun, you know? It's like, it was like this big, you know, it was this big, I think, Norwegian or Swedish island. With, you know, bunkers and shit and all that. But also, there was just so much cool stuff like, oh hey.
If it would have been Norwegian.
What? It was, I think it was in Norway, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe them, no, it had to be Norway. But go on.
Yeah, but like, the thing is, one of the coolest stuff was just like, yeah, you had a bunch of, you know, normal vehicles, but also you had tanks. Which is like, this was one of the main things about this game that, you know, it was World War II. So and also, very important, Battlefield 5 had a wide variety of unique tanks in the game. Like, from light tanks, scout tanks, to heavy tanks, and special tanks. Like, and you could find them, okay? Like, yeah, you had this whole thing with, you still needed gasoline and shit, because that kind of made sense if you think, in terms of balancing, you know? But it was cool, because, you know, you could find light tanks, everyone hops in or outside, and you just skirmish the shit out of, you know, people, because light tanks are just good anti-infantry things. Or you find a Sturmtiger. Or a Sturmtiger finds you. That happened to us. Like, I've played with like 3 other friends. You know what happened? We go in. We fucking... I kid you not. We like kill a bunch of squads, open a vault, and we're like, yeah, we found a Panzer IV, and we're just like, holy shit, yeah. And we go out and we have fun, like we kill some people, and we're like, yeah, we're on the top of the world. And then someone just says, is that a Sturmtiger? So our cold spot was wiped in one shot.
F.
It's F, but it was a fun F. And then you had other bullshit like, we won a round because, like someone fell behind, and I kid you not. The way they catched up was they found a tractor and rammed the whole thing into an enemy team from behind just to catch up. They didn't even know the enemies was there. It was just chaos and fun and just cool because also one of the things that this game had, because again this was Battlefield, shit broke. This wasn't like, oh, you know, how in other Battle Royale games you usually have this thing that, oh, someone is, you know, bunkered up in that house and you can't do anything against them. You could nuke the house. Also, one of the coolest things about the firestorm was it was an actual firestorm, and everything that was touched by the firestorm was obliterated. So, even though there were, you know, some opportunities that you could actually move outside of the firestorm, or, you know, and then come back in, it wasn't that you could, you know, hide behind corners because everything was leveled. That was just cool, you know? I'm talking about fucking Firestorm again. But you know what the funniest part was? Everyone, literally everyone and their fucking mother told EA and DICE, you need to make this shit free to play. And you know what their response was? But we promised it as a premium package, we can't do this now. Keep in mind, everyone told them, make this part free to play, else you will have problems finding players. So a few months, so like, I think 4 months later, Warzone launches. And yeah, well, 1 year later, Warzone launches. They had a whole year. A whole fucking year to just grab a huge chunk of the Battle Royale market. They could have done that. Call of Duty would have not even been the same. And they didn't do it. And you know what's even more baffling afterwards? Then they just, you know, slowly fix the game, you know, with stuff. Then COVID comes around, and I know what they were like, you know, we suspend that, we work on the next title, okay, fine. And then the next title launches with a bare bones extraction shooter. And it's also not free to play. Someone at DICE, and apparently this was both DICE's decision, thought adding Battle Royale and adding an extraction shooter as something you have to buy into would increase sales. I don't know. I'm just... You see how fucking insane that is? And even then I was like, you know, then the market was gone. I was like, hey, you know what the one thing Battlefield is good at is? Multiplayer class gameplay. Literally expand it and just use that. Because you know which modes are always underrepresented and underused in the main game now? Rush. But people love Rush. Rush with dedicated maps is just really fucking good. So I kept saying, make it so that, you know, as a free-to-play part, Rush, and then put, you know, maybe payload squad rush mode on those same maps. One is for, you know, 5v5/6v6. The other thing is for 12v12. Because a bunch of people would play that. They would love to play that. It would still have, you know, vehicles and shit on certain maps and all that. But a lot of people, you know, wouldn't want to join the big ones. It's just there's no point in playing Rush in a lot of bigger, in a lot of recent titles because it's so underpopulated. Anyway, I ranted enough about that game series. So, Vicky Amaru, how was your week? How are the recent game announcements for you? So far, for us, they've been fine announcements, honestly. I'm just so, how's it called? Underwhelmed by what they showed about Call of Duty. It's like, look at our casino level. I'm like, okay. And like, we're not gonna reveal multiplayer today. And I was like, but you showed Gunsmith, so fuck you. I want Pick 10 again. Cowards. Pick 10 was the best system. I'm sorry, it was. Pick 10 was just elegant and perfect, and Infinity Ward kind of ruined multiplayer. And I guess Zombies has battery. It was like, oh yeah, you can't talk about zombies. Why? It's zombies. Just show me what...
Light them up. When things get tough, remember your training. Apply the fire to the bad guys.
Oh yeah, we do need to talk about the emotes. So I think people said there should be one train emote.
Something to do with trains, definitely.
Yeah, I think I have at least one idea what to base it on. There's like, I have this one old model, which is not, it's kind of a fictional train, just kind of matching some old German models together, but I like it. It's a small steam engine. It's very cute.
Somebody stitch me up. Got that napalm busted.
You know, we have diesel electric trains. Why did nobody ever make a steam electric train? I mean, I know why realistically, but just like, you know.
It's because, I mean, yes, it's kind of stupid.
Yes, I don't
I mean,
care.
that's the irony about, that's actually kind of the irony if you think about it, that, if you use steam energy, it's actually still better to use it directly. But, yeah.
Zone contested.
You could actually use electricity to make steam.
Oh, now I'm imagining like for something like, completely divorced from reality, of course. But if you make like nuclear locomotives,
oh god,
you
yeah.
know, like you know, like you said, if you use steam, the best way is to just still use it directly. But even nuclear power, like basically every kind of power that
is steam engine,
like wind power. Yes. So now I'm just imagining like a nuclear engine, but it still has like the steam pistons on the side because that's how it actually moves.
Technically, like I mean, yeah. It's kind of wild to think about that. Photovoltaic is like the only way where
Well, there's a wind engine. I think photovoltaic doesn't use steam, but still, I think still actually uses steam, or at least just uses like hot water.
No.
Oh, right, no, photovoltaic, no, not so the regular solar photovoltaic. No, you're right.
There is so there is solar stuff that heats water. My grandparents actually installed that on their roof because photovoltaic was too expensive for them. But actually, you know, still having, you know, more heated water from the sun was still, you know, saved a ton of energy. But no, photovoltaic is probably the only thing where we don't get some way to turn, you know, a magnet inside of another magnet. That is how we produce all of our electricity to this day. And it's either, you know, we heat something and produce steam, or, you know, it's either water and wind. It's one of those. Nothing. Only photovoltaic is not using an engine, which is kind of bonkers to think about that this even exists. Like, you'd expect that after all these years, we would have actually not found another way to produce energy other than, you know, magnet goes spinny. But
even fusion is just a better way to heat water.
This is just the wildest thing. Fusion is just this thing. Fusion is just how do we get a lot of steam, but without burning things, and also less waste and shit. It's not a direct energy thing, which is so wild that even today in in sci-fi people are just saying, oh yeah, the fusion reactor just creates energy. No, it creates heat. Fusion creates heat, everyone. And then we use it to produce steam. Or, I think there are some concepts because they think fusion makes stuff so hot that you could technically just use air instead of steam. Which would make it which would make fusion actually another wind turbine? That is
a solar
at
wind
least
turbine.
Some gas they would use.
This one's just about done, and then we'll never speak of it
You know
again.
what?
Zone contested.
On that note, I remember how did you watch Planeties ever?
No.
Okay, you should. Planeties is amazing. It's also made by Sunrise in the 90s, or early 2000s, early 2090s. It's absolutely hard sci-fi, but without mechs actually this time. It's based on a manga.
Sci-fi without mechs? No.
What? Oh yeah, they do that sometimes. It's also based on a manga made by the guy that did Vinland Saga, if you know that.
I've heard of it. I've never watched it, but I know
Yeah,
of it.
it's by that guy, and it's just they're actually mining helium-3 on the moon, and it's pretty cool. It's just so good. I just love this. It's just okay. Planeties is one of those series I have watched at least 10 times. It is that good. It's just also the leftist terrorists win at the end. No shit, that happens. I guess
Yeah,
slight
very good.
spoiler, but it's
Very
great.
good.
So you would love it. You would love it. I tell you that.
Probably.
Oh, I have soon the rapid fire barrel. That sounds bullshit on the MP7, but
It just empties your entire magazine in one shot.
honestly, I'd be down for that. So yeah, but yeah, everyone, how has your week been? I know I'm kind of desperate to get everyone in chat to talk, but so yeah. I'm actually very interested in what they announced at the PCGaming show. Like, especially, I mean, okay, they're showing from one RTS from ex-StarCraft devs on, like, I mean, it looks more like Warcraft,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
as I said before, I think the biggest problem everyone does is that they they're trying to, copy the old games too much,
Yeah.
and or try to get remove the macro gameplay. Even I think base building and macro gameplay is not only something that a lot of people love because it's visually cool. It is the easiest part to learn. Like, you want to get people into RTS, make accessible macro gameplay with visual feedback. Okay, you know what? I talked with Agonia about this like a while ago because okay, so here's the thing. As much as there's shit on the a series, being a lot of, just shit out titles and a lot of, a lot of titles weren't that good. I'm gonna be honest. I have these moments where I just really get into, thinking about game design. And there's this one series where I was really obsessed with how could you update the series and actually make it like, you know, keep a lot of stuff, you know, at least similar, but, you know, usually you rework it into functioning completely different and just having some more interesting things in there. And there is this one RTS series where I, like, ironically kind of focused on, and so it's Command and Conquer.
Oh, I love Command and Conquer.
What?
I love Command and Conquer.
You know what? It has impeccable vibes, and as much as I say, you know, the best version of classic Command and Conquer is Generals, and I don't want to touch that because Generals is Generals, and I don't think I would want to change that. And it's just its own thing. I
wrote up so many concept mods for Generals. I actually was in the Generals modding community for a while.
Oh damn.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, I mean,
I still have a dev version floating around somewhere of a mod that I eventually... The mod sort of fell apart, the project as a whole, but I still just, every once in a while, I'd go back and keep tinkering, so there's a lot of random stuff that I put in there just to, like, can I make this work?
Yeah, like, that's the irony, because I don't think I want to touch Generals, because I think Generals is its own thing, and I don't want to change that. But for me, it's like, I kind of want to do Red Alert. But in the sense that, you know, Red Alert, what would Red Alert be if it was good? And I know,
it wouldn't be Red Alert. That's the one.
Oh yeah, I know, but like, I mean, yeah, if you hear some shit I had in my mind, probably a lot of people are like, wait, that is some halfway ripped from Snapcom or Dawn of War. I'm like, yeah, steal from the West, fuck it.
Yeah.
Because also a lot of stuff they already wanted to do, like, you know, I think it wouldn't be that stupid to have something, you know, it doesn't need to be an ACU like, you know, in Subcom, but like a central builder unit that is your commander would fit into a Red Alert game. You could make it, you know, a certain amount of tanks or warfares per faction. Like, you have 3 factions in Red Alert. Go nuts with that concept. We don't even, like, it would actually iterate on the Subcom version by having very unique central commanders. And I was like, you know, I just kept thinking about shit, like, you know, you already trying to build stuff in relatively real life-sized things. I was like, how about you know, you streamline the whole upgrade mechanism that is just, you know, oh hey, what is a factory level 2? Well, you build 2 factories side by side. A factory level 3 is 4 factories, you know, built in a square. And so you have bigger factories, just bigger, you know, just bigger factories. And it would already encourage people to build more factories instead of, you know, forgetting to click a button. The more I think you make stuff immediately on the field, the more it is accessible. And then, you know, other stuff was in my brain, like, how do you make, for example, how do you make stuff like resource flow and control more interesting? And one thing I've been kind of obsessed with is, like, the idea of how do you do supply lines in, you know, RTS that don't suck. And there is this idea, it ironically was born from Command and Conquer 4, yes, that horrible game. Where I was like, here's the thing.
Sorry to interrupt. Like, I think that's one of the things with bad games. It can be very interesting to look at because quite often there are some good ideas in there, and it can be interesting to look at. Like, okay, this game is bad, but what works here? What are good ideas, and how could you make them better in a different context?
Yeah. So I still want to, you know, I still like that idea. You would have, you know, sub factions in, you know, in a Command and Conquer title that it's like, oh, you play them, you have like a different tanks and such. So it's more like, yes, you play the Soviets, but you play, you know, this sub-faction of the Soviets. I think that should stay in the game. That's actually a good thing, in my opinion. But for you know, resource extraction, it's like, okay, how about you build like a resource extraction pylon, and then, you know, there are harvesters that, you know, a little bit like StarCraft, automatically go to fields in Reach and harvest the resources. So that, you know, kind of makes it so that you're incentivized to actually build structures more out there.
Yeah.
He just said. But then there was one thing I found interesting. How about it making it so that you build one and you have harvesters on there, and then you could upgrade that structure, you know, with turrets and stuff. But then, how about, you know, you can't directly use that resource,
apply the fire to the bad
So
guys.
you have it spawns trucks that move back to your base into a refinery.
Yes,
Meaning,
yes.
people,
They're taking B.
so this is as we Germans call it Wuselfaktor. Everyone loves Wuselfaktor. But most importantly, for newbies, again, make macro accessible. You would see the flow of your resources. It's not just a number ticking up in the left corner of your screen. There is a resource flow that you see, and you don't need to attack fortified bases. You need to secure corridors, and that would get you to, because that's also a thing that happens a lot. A lot of early players build turrets all the time. They turtle with turrets. If you have supply routes, you would be more incentivized to have patrols. Scout, keep shit clean, because if you realize, hey, there's no more trucks coming from that route, something is wrong.
Like burning.
But you could also assault those supply lines from other people.
Yeah, like and you can't build like a whole like unbroken line of turrets from your base to an outlying supply line. You can't. I mean, you could, but you lose the game.
And then you could still expand that. Like, how about you have different upgrades, depending on the faction, on your supply lines. Like, for example, one faction could build helipads on their extractors. Helipads. Helipads. That's what they're called.
Helipads.
Yeah, Argonia activity, by the way.
Hello.
Hello from Lena.
Hello.
She
I am
said,
confused by English.
so yeah.
like-
So and then
This whole thing is my jam. I love this kind of thing so much. Like thinking, I have a whole lot of
I know.
ideas of my own for things like this.
Yeah, I'm like definitely like a design churning machine in my head to a big degree, because it's
Same.
like, oh hey, how can you refine shit? Because I'm like, Command and Conquer is for me one of those things, because I'm always like, I should not only shit on it, I should actually build one idea on how could you actually make a good Command and Conquer game, because that's the least I should do when I critique the series, But yeah, you could have helipads, and then they suddenly have airway back and forth, and you could also make it so that if you for example set rally points for small units like near near those points, they automatically use those helicopters to actually go towards the front, which would make a way to transport units and stuff. And other factions could build trains, which would make them more rigid, but also more defended and way more at once. Which
Also,
is,
armor train.
yeah, armor trains. It would obviously be that, and the other faction could just make the middle ground just really big, like 6-wheeled beefy trucks, which is like they could go over more steep terrain and trains, but couldn't hold as much, but still hold more than the helicopters. But the helicopters again are just more frequent by air. Again, and it would still give visual feedback on macro gameplay, which is so wild to me that devs want to cut out macro gameplay. It's like, base building is fun. You need to make base building accessible though, because base building needs to have the right amount of, you can do shit, you have to click things and it should feel meaningful, but it should still be automated to a certain degree so it doesn't interfere with the game.
Three,
You know 0K?
one.
It doesn't ring a bell right now.
It's a game on Steam, completely free. It's on the Spring engine. So it's,
Yeah, I think I heard
yeah.
about that back in the day.
Yeah.
when-
Yeah, like it's been going for a long time, but it is actually standalone on Steam now, and they've been putting out these in like the Steam News thing. They've been putting out I think that they're calling it cold takes, which are sort of these like insights in their development process and how they like how they design certain things and why they do things the way they do. and reasoning and like comparing it to other games. And there's a lot of really interesting things in there. That's like purely from the perspective of theoretical game design. It's really interesting to read about things like game flow. And one of their big things that they keep repeating is they want people to fight the players, not the UI. So they're
that is definitely a thing. And I feel like a lot of devs just go too far. Be like, oh yeah, people don't like base. No, base building is just too much for a lot of people. Oh, double kill with the drone. Yes.
Nice.
But again, make macro more accessible. Make it more visually clear what's happening.
I'll put a link. They have a list of the post on the wiki. Put a link in the Discord for later reference. Because those, like I said, those
also,
are very
cat
interesting.
picture is very cute. I just want to say that.
Yes.
It's just so cute.
Yeah, really sleepy.
Very sleepy.
But yeah, I also kind of like the whole. I like supply lines as well, and that's why I kind of hated that in Red Alert 3 it just automatically was like, oh, here's a resource point. You build a refinery literally right next to it. When you build a refinery, it snaps to the zone, and there is still a truck that goes literally 2 tiles back and forth. And I just like. Why even have the truck at that point?
It's
why?
That's the thing. That's the thing. You build you have built units in Command and Conquer 1 and 2, and why I think you should kind of automate that. Because I think the you still have this thing with the point build system from Dawn of War and Subcon that is very, very efficient. You should still make it more so that it's like at least getting into the spirit of there are trucks that harvest it and trucks that bring it back. There should be some meaning there. You could automate stuff, but again, meaningful.
Yeah, like in generals, like if I'm when I was playing just like competitive multiplayer, I would still try to play optimally and build my supply depots next to the supply dumps. But if I'm just playing single player skirmish against AI when I don't have as much pressure, I like to take my time and make my base look nice. And part of that is I would build my supply depots right next to my command center and only have the one supply depot. So even with the starting resource node, there's just actual trucks going back and forth. And when I move on to outlying resource node, I have these supply line. Cause I like looking at my little trucks or Chinooks or something going back and forth. There's
definitely something.
It's satisfying.
And I think if you actually get that into the core gameplay loop without having people have to fight the game, that is good. This is why I had this idea in the first place. This is why I was like, get some stuff in there that makes it more accessible for people to see that.
The Dune game, like the sort of predecessor / sister series to CNC, the Dune games also had the spices on the sands out on the sands, and then the refinery, like you have the carryalls ferrying your harvesters to the refinery. They're not in the same location. And
this is also why I think this whole build things more outward is good, because it's obviously control of the map and area and such, but I think you need to make something that makes sense. I'm generally someone for automating it, but also control points in Dawn of War are too unpersonal. Like they are so well designed in Dawn of War, but they are so unpersonal. I'm sorry to say that they never fully clicked for me.
Yeah, it's very gamey and arbitrary.
I know why it works, but
I think for something like that, what you could do is sort of quasi restrict your refinery building, your supply depot building. Like you can like you have your command center or your base area, and you can build more command centers elsewhere, but they're really expensive, so you're not going to do that too much. You might do that, like even in like general. I'm thinking of generals mainly, by the way. Like in generals, you could build other command centers elsewhere, but generally you really wouldn't. But if you had like if the command center or the equivalent had like a base area around it, that's where you build your refineries or supply depots. That sort of restricts like where you build. If you want to get your supply line secured, you need to build a very expensive forward base out in the field. But if you don't have that kind of resource to spare, you build a smaller forward operations base to defend your resource node, and then you have the supply line going back and forth.
Like, and that is also one thing why I think the forward operations is actually is also something I like, because I think it is good to have stuff to fight over at the front. like actual shit, and having stuff where your troops get carried to. And again, some factions, for example with trains, they could, one of the upsides is you could actually, have fucking tanks. And another double kill. Holy shit! I almost have the last cleaner unlocked. One of the things is just that, again, the forward bases are actually kind of cool. This is one thing I ironically mainly had from Dawn of War 3, because if you actually played that kind of properly and, people should build their shit at the front, it was pretty cool because, well, yeah, you suddenly had this thing going on that, well, you should build your whole buildings at the front because there you can reinforce, there you can do shit, but they're vulnerable to enemies. And having, buildings that act like small forward bases where your troops get carried to and stuff, that is actually really cool. And I think the idea of also troops getting through supply lines to the front, something that I saw, I haven't played it much, but like in Wargame, for example, is also an interesting idea. But how can you fuse all of these ideas into like an actually coherent RTS game?
Yeah.
Into making it also more natural and...
Yeah. Yeah, like Rune had it where like your resource, you build your there are these supply dumps on the map, and you build a supply depot on them, and those send out like little convoys of trucks every 30 seconds, and they follow the roads that are just predefined on the map. So your supply lines are kind of like, you have actual supply lines, and you can basically build anywhere adjacent to a road. But the construction truck needs to take time to get there. So you could like build you could build out, but it takes a long time, and trucks are extremely vulnerable. You also can build these like secondary headquarters, which are smaller buildings that also like send out construction trucks and accept resource trucks. Those are not too expensive. You can use those to basically set up forward bases. You still need to make sure that the truck actually gets to the destination. And that's kind of, I think it's interesting. Like I never really had, when I played it, I never really had like raiding being a big part of the gameplay, but it was at least a thing that was possible.
Yeah, that's also a thing, right? Because the idea of raids are just not a lot possible in classic RTS, and I think there is something to expand. And yeah, this is just me rambling. This was me rambling about how I would fix Command and Conquer, but like, yeah, I'm not gonna be like, oh, Command and Conquer is bad and it's good that it's dead. It's more like, hey, this is what
I love Command and Conquer. I hate that it's dead. But yeah,
I mean, they really just shat out the last like 3 games. They were not that good.
No, like I even CNC3, I just didn't really like it that much.
I have it, and it was just not that good.
Yeah, no, it lacked a lot of the soul of the previous game.
Yeah, that's the irony.
Tiberian Sun was peak.
That's the irony. CNC3 was just generic, but also just not that fun to play. Like, Command and Red Alert 3 had the energy, but it sucked.
Yeah.
It sucked so much. I'm so utterly sorry for saying that, but...
Honestly, yeah. Like, it's been ages since I played it, but that's kind of what I remember. Like, the cutscenes were great. Like, Red Alert 2's cutscenes were still absolute peak, but Red Alert 3, nearly? But, yeah, the gameplay...
Red Alert 3 knew what it wanted to do, and it did it very, very well.
Oh, they leaned so hard into the cheese.
Oh, yeah. And even, with the faction, visual design stuff, there was so much good stuff there. They knew.
I think for me, Red Alert 3 is a little... They go a little bit too much toward the the goofy side. Like Red Alert 2 was wacky and goofy, but it still had a sort of B-movie energy to it. And Red Alert 3 just felt like it should have been a comedy game at points. And it just, I didn't hate it, but I prefer the balance of Red Alert, like the balance between like wacky and serious of Red Alert 2 over Red Alert.
I think if 3 was just like, hey, we have the Japanese now, and like, yeah, it was cool, but like, By the way, everyone, stay tuned. We are back in literally just a second.